Hello, everyone. My name is Mr. Zach, and this is Preschool Storytime at Hudson Public Library. In case you notice my hat today, we are celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday. All right, so if you're watching this at any other time than when the actual birthday is, it's March 2nd. So if you're watching this right when it comes out, you're a little early, and if you're watching it after that day, you're a little late, but I think that is fine. We can always celebrate birthdays just a little bit off of that time. And if you're watching this on some other random month, then that is fine too. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to go through some book recommendations, and you'll notice that they have a little bit more of a theme than they even usually do. So let's get started on here. All right, so I know a lot of you are familiar with Dr. Seuss, but I'm still going to go through. So there are lots and lots of wonderful books written by Dr. Seuss. You can see that I'm wearing the famous Cat in the hat, and that is one of them, but I want to show you a few other things that we've got as well. So, did you know that we've got a CD? We've got a book on tape here. It is the Cat in the Hat songbook, and If I Ran the Zoo. So you can get a little musicality in there with that. All right, so this next one that we've got is, I think, a lot of people's favorites. It's a classic, and they even made it into a TV show recently, and that is Green Eggs and Ham. All right, so this book is really fun. It's all about trying new things and being open-minded, but this story is also really cool because of the backstory. So Dr. Seuss actually really was disappointed in a lot of kids' books that they were making at the time, and he said that he could easily write a better kids' book using really limited words. So there's only 50 different words in this book. It's a very simple vocabulary book. It's a really good one to get started out with. All right, so really fun book, classic, and I know a lot of you have probably already read the ones that I'm recommending, but I do have a few surprises at the end here. All right, so I've got one of my favorite books from Dr. Seuss, and that is the Lorax. All right, so this one is an absolute classic. It's one of a few books like Oh, the Places You'll Go that I feel like adults really enjoy as well. This one honestly has just become more and more relevant in our world. It is fantastic. The designs are really cool. And like a lot of Dr. Seuss books, he doesn't really shy away from commentary. Another one, if you haven't read, that's a lot like that, is the Butter Battle book. And you might not have realized it as a kid, but try reading that as an adult, and it's pretty hard to miss what it's really about. All right, so the next book was not just my favorite Dr. Seuss book when I was a kid, but one of my all-time favorite books. And this one is a collection of short stories, and it's called The Sneetches and Other Stories. And these are all library books that I'm getting from here, so you can get all of these checked out. But this one is just absolutely so much fun. There's a lot of really good lessons in it too. I think the story of the Sneetches is just so funny, so very relevant. I love the story of the Zacks. I think that was probably why I liked it, because it sounded like my name, but there was a north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks. And that story about stubbornness is just so funny. There's a story about something that seems spooky in here, but then turns out to not be that bad. So really good ones there. All right, so here's something you might not know. So Dr. Seuss is the pen name for Theodore Geisel, and he used that name whenever he wrote and illustrated his books. But did you know that he had another famous pen name, and we've got some of those books, and that was Theo Lesigue. And so that's his last name spelled backwards. So we've got a few of those like that, and these are the books that Dr. Seuss. I'm just going to call him Dr. Seuss because that's what the most famous name is. Oh, my hat's starting to fall a little there. There we go. That's better. That he wrote but didn't illustrate. So somebody else drew the pictures for those. All right. So this first one I've got is Please Try to Remember the 1st of October. And it's just a really fun rhyming book. It's a lot of fun. And so Dr. Seuss wrote it, but it was illustrated by somebody else. That was Art Cummings. All right, and then another one to show you there is 10 Apples Up on Top. And this is another just kind of short book, really fun. And you can see it's definitely a very different style than Dr. Seuss normally illustrates, but it's still a really fun one in here. So if you didn't know, if you thought you've read all of the Dr. Seuss books, but you didn't know about Lessig, then these are fun ones to check out. All right. And then we are going to end with a couple books by an author that sometimes actually gets mistaken for Dr. Seuss. I think sometimes people confuse him for the Lessig. I know I have sometimes in the past even, but this is Petey Eastman. So Petey Eastman was an author around the same time as Dr. Seuss was, and he was actually a student of Dr. Seuss's. And if you like a lot of Dr. Seuss books, he's definitely got his own style, his own voice, but I think that these are really very much along that same kind of fun, goofy, imaginative thing on that. So Go Dog Go is a good one. And another one we've got is Are You My Mother? And we've got a few of these different ones. And they're a lot of fun, really great. I would recommend giving those a look. All right, so now we're going to move on past the story time. So welcome to the main part of the show. And it's going to be a fairly short one today. Man, my hat wants to keep falling down. That's all right. And so I figured to celebrate Dr. Seuss, it'd be fun to do a bit of a craft inspired by one of his books. And I know that I feel like a lot of people like to do usually Cat in the Hat because it's fun to make the hats, it's fun to make thing one and thing two. But I think today I'm going to do one on the Lorax because I think the Truffula Trees are really cool looking. And so I thought we'd try to make our own. All right, so you're going to need some popsicle sticks for this. And if you have small popsicle sticks, then you can make them a little bit differently than if you have bigger ones. But I've got a large popsicle stick, so I happen to have an already yellow popsicle stick, but if your popsicle sticks are just brown, then the first thing you'll want to do is color them yellow. You can do that with a marker, I think will probably work the best, but you can definitely try that with colored pencils or crayons. I just think it'll take a little bit longer. Or you could let it sit in some food coloring to get it dyed. That should work as well. Then you'll need some glue, and then you'll need some colorful yarn. So I've got this purple one here. I think this looks like a great color for some Truffula Trees. And then you will also need some scissors. And I've got just some children's scissors here. They're fairly safe to use for the little ones. And then you'll need a black marker or a Sharpie. All right, so I'm gonna start with this part first. So take this, and then if it will help to take a look at what the Truffula Trees look like, I'm just going to grab the book because they are throughout the whole book. There we go, dropping some things. That's all right. So you can see these are the Truffula Trees. So they're yellow with little black marks in here, and then they've got these fluffy things up on top. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing, is making those Truffula Trees. So I've got my yellow trunk of my tree right here, and then I'm going to make some black marks, just like lines along there. So just like that. Now you've got the trunk going up here like that. So next you're going to need to make the big fluffy part on top. So for that, you'll definitely want to use yarn if you have it. String is probably going to be a little too thin, and you want to grab out a decent length of it. I'm saying probably about that much is what I'm going for. It can be a little more, it can be a little less. Then you'll cut that off. And then you're going to try to get this wrapped around so it looks really fluffy. So however you think that'll work, I think you can make it work. So make sure to get the ends right in the middle though, that'll make it easier for you. You just want a nice ball. So what I said before, if you're using small ones, instead of doing that, you could also use pom-poms, or if you have a really big pom-pom. Otherwise, I think that's just gonna look a little small on top of here. All right, so then we're gonna put just a little bit of a dot of glue. Hopefully my glue isn't too dried out. I might have gotten a somewhat dried glue. See if that helps. There we go, now it's going. All right, so you're putting a dot of glue right on top there. And then you're going to stick this right on top there. And I'm going to stick a little bit more glue. So if you have a glue that dries clear, that's great. And also, I think hot glue will actually be the best thing that you can do on this. But I want to make this easy for everybody to do. So I'm just using some regular school glue. All right, and then there you have it. You've got just your simple little Truffula Tree bookmark. So this is flat. You could also draw on the back if you wanted to, but you can place this in your book to have your very own little Truffula tree. There you go. Makes a nice bookmark. All right, so I know it's a little bit of a shorter one today, but that's the craft that I've got for you. And so I wanted to just close out by saying happy Dr. Seuss's birthday. I think for a lot of people, myself included, Dr. Seuss is such a fun author and just represents a lot of creativity and a lot of imagination and exploration. So just a really fun time. So I would encourage you to check out Dr. Seuss's books, but also Dr. Seuss was just really big on reading and literacy. So I would encourage you to celebrate Dr. Seuss Day by just going out and reading. So thank you everyone so much for joining me. Bye.